Welcome to Women on Wisdom. I'm your host, Sandra Boyd, and this is where real stories meet urgent truth. It's estimated that it will take nearly 124 years to close the gender gap. That's just way too long. We can no longer depend on governments, workplaces, or even women's groups to lead the change. It's up to us to have the tough conversations, challenge old stories, and reclaim our power. The time for waiting is over. The movement starts now, one woman at a time. Welcome to Women on Wisdom. I'm your host, Sandra Boyd, and today we're getting into a peek behind the curtains at a journey that's deeply personal, profoundly challenging, and incredibly rewarding. A year ago, Patricia, Polischuk, and Kirsten, Stanger, and myself embarked on a mission to create something truly different. TalentWise Collective. We envisioned a business built on shared values, empowering women, fostering authentic leadership, and driving meaningful change in the corporate world. Our why was simple: to create a space where talent isn't just developed, but truly thrives. And what a year it's been. Despite the roller coaster, and it was a roller coaster, we're incredibly proud of what we've accomplished together. Today, Patricia, Kirsten, and I are opening up about the unfiltered reality of the first year. We're getting vulnerable and honest and sharing the moments that made us soar, tough decisions that tested our resolve, and yes, even the ugly truths that left us questioning everything. This isn't just a business story. It really is a testament to our partnership, resilience, and the power of women building something bigger than themselves. So settle in as we dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly of our first year with TalentWise Collective. Good morning, ladies, and welcome to Women on Wisdom. Patricia and Kirsten, we have a special podcast today because we're going to talk about our entrepreneurial journey over the last year, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But for the audience, I'm just going to kind of give them a little bit of a high-level overview of how we got to this moment. And so we had an opportunity in October of last year to start our own business. And we are three individuals that have spent most of our careers in corporate. So deciding to make and to start an entrepreneurial adventure or venture or whatever we want to call it was a big step for us. And we'll talk more about that. But we started the business, actually, signed the documentation and the partnership agreement in October. We didn't officially launch till around April. However, we did have clients, and we just jumped into the deep end, basically. And over the last year, some of the things that we've done, and I'm going to be out of breath when I talk about it, because when I look back, we created a website that reflects our brand, our values based on consistent feedback. We spoke to over 40 clients, Patricia and I, just to talk about what our corporate clients want, they don't want, and to really have a deeper understanding. But in order to create even a website, you have to do a deep dive and reflect on who you are and what you want and why you're on this journey. And I also like to tell the audience, we are of three different generations, so different ages and stages and different demographics. We also were able to connect with about 50 associate consultants, because in our business we do leadership and development, coaching, assessment, and career transition, and you do different types of associate consultants. So we gathered about 50 of them together so far. And creating the business infrastructure, oh my God, I don't even want to talk about that. It still gives me nightmares, the processes and the systems around it. And Patricia's like, oh yeah, if we didn't have Patricia, I don't know what Kirsten and I would do. I also, in my wisdom, decided to create Women on Wisdom podcast, which for me was a completely different journey. And lots of reflections on that one. And just learning everything about, although I've been a leader and an executive in an organization, Patricia's been in leadership, Kirsten's been in this industry for a long time as well. But owning a business and building a business and, stepping in a corporate world are two completely different things. So that's the background. And so the first questions that I have for the three of us is, tell me a little about what made you decide that, yes, I want to step out and have the courage to step out of the corporate world and start my own business, and what was a catalyst for you? So, Kirsten, let's start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, um, I think working through many different organizations over time and working with you, Sandra, and reporting into you, I've followed you like loyally, as you were my mentor and my boss and my work mom and a friend, and we had this incredible working relationship. And so I always felt, Sandra, and I think I told you, because I had many years of working as an associate, so not as a full-time employee. When you're ready, when you're ready, I'm there. Like, we can do this and let's do this. And I thought it was maybe years ago, and maybe that was going to be our time. But then it happened, and then finally it happened. So for me, the catalyst was obviously having this opportunity to, from where we worked before, to be able to establish and take some of the working clients that we've been doing, and so it was time. It was time, and we were ready. So I just never doubted that we were going to be here in this place. It was just a matter of having it be so.
Well, I would just add to that, when we knew that, or knew we were leaving our last organization. I was leaving the last organization. I was exhausted from a lot of personal stuff, and I thought, well, this is it. Kirsten asked me, so what's next? And I said, where are we? She says, where are we going? What's next for us? And I said, I don't know what's next for you, but I think I'm exhausted. I think I'm out, and going to take some time. However, there was a lot of great opportunities and working with you and of course Patricia. But Patricia, I'd love to hear from you, your perspective.
Well, it's wonderful to be back. I love doing this show. I think,
You're like almost
Kirsten,
a regular guest.
I know, I love it. I just so much fun. But where Kirsten said she's loyal, I just basically stalked Sandra. I've stalked her for,
And I
three
stalked you
companies
guys. Yeah.
now. So I think for me, I was totally scared. I had always been a corporate gal from, the get go, and always worked for, companies for quite some period of time. Over the last few
Yeah.
years of my career, though, it was shorter stints. And I think that really helped me understand that, I think I'm ready to stop making other people money and want to do something uh, you know, for ourselves, because I would never have done this without you guys. There's no way. So
Oh
that was
yeah.
never even a consideration. But I think because I had worked with you, both of you, not so much Kirsten because you were in a different office always, but we knew of each other, and we worked on some things through Sandra. But I think, just the trust was there to say, these guys know the good, the bad, the ugly of me. And, we work well together. We know our strengths, we know our weaknesses. And I think this could really work well, and we could have fun doing it. I think that was the other part of it too. I really wanted an opportunity where we could enjoy what we were doing, really do the work we wanted to do with the people we really wanted to work with, our people. And I think that was really important to me. So, yeah, that's why it made sense.
Well, and I
Still
think,
scared though.
well, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. We'll get to
Still.
that. The ups and downs of owning your own business. One of the things, Patricia, I would say that I really admired about you that made me want to stop and think was because you were very deliberate in thinking through things, whereas I was sort of more ready just to like, okay, let's go. That, the way that you were thoughtful and you had to really think about it and, where you're at and what you need. Really appreciated. And it made me, sort of stop and Sandra with your guidance of questions as well about what do we want? from this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And, for me, Kirsten, I'm glad you said that because, it's so easy to say, well, if I get a full-time job or I'm working with a company, there's security. There is no security anymore, right?
No
We make our
security
own
anymore.
security.
No.
Yeah. And I felt like, throughout my career, and because we did so much work in career transition over the years, we coached so many people, I started to listen to myself and how I would coach my
Yeah,
clients.
yeah, yeah. We don't. We're like the hairdressers that don't do our own hair. We're coaching clients,
Absolutely.
and sometimes we don't listen to what's the sage advice, right?
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
that kind of, I started to do a little bit of coaching on myself to say, what is that fear that you've got? And you guys were great too, in terms of, and that's the other thing I love about working with you guys is you call me on my bullshit, right? You'll say, okay, you know what?
All for each of
Something's not
us, right?
working.
mostly
Yeah.
Sandra, but yes.
Not fair, because you guys pick on me a lot. I will say that you will pick on me a lot.
Our picking is different.
Okay. Well, I think, for the audience to know something that one of, is being in career transition and people lose their jobs. And sometimes it's, losing your job is probably well, not probably, it's considered one of the 10 top stressors. It's up there with dying and divorce and buying a house and getting married. And so when you lose a job, and one of the messages that we always tell people is not the organization that keeps you employed. It's your skills, it's your attitude, it's your behaviors. You're the one that keeps yourself employed, whether it's going from company to company or staying within or one organization. So, we were always, I would say, entrepreneurs. I think the other thing too is that as three females, we've been, there's a lot of businesses that are popping up now. As a matter of fact, there's 33% more businesses in the last few years popping up that are female led. So I think it's a great time for us, but it comes with unique, issues and challenges and all the rest, and we'll get into that. But my next question is, if you look back over the past year of building TalentWise Collective, what's been sort of some of the most unexpected moments or discoveries about yourselves or each other, that truly stands out?
I'll start. I think one of the most unexpected things that happened was the being able to heal the relationship with Kirsten and I that I didn't even know was kind of not broken, but damaged from years ago. And I think that to me was the biggest gift that ever happened. So if I were to look at something, I'd say that would be number one. And number two would be the response from my network of contacts that I've worked with over the years, customers, clients, friends, acquaintances, colleagues, just that the belief that, and the word they used was, you guys are three powerhouse women who are going to do great things. And to me, that really meant a lot. And so many people said, why, finally you're doing this. And that was good to hear as well. So just the belief that we can do this, and the fact that I've got an even better relationship with Kirsten, and I think has been the true gift out of the last year. And all the wonderful people we've worked with too,
Maybe
though.
you guys want to elaborate on that so our audience knows, that
Yeah,
you can heal and what we're talking
Yeah, so they're
about.
not guessing and filling in the blanks.
yes, what happened? Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I can tell the story because I think I mostly owned this narrative, and it's the power of when you experience something yourself and how you interpret something, how it continues to be so. So I'm going to say almost 10 years ago now, probably at least that. So that's how long we're talking ago. I
You sure carry a
I'm so
grudge.
sorry.
I totally can. Well, I didn't realize I was carrying it, but I was because it was so deeply ingrained in me. So I did some work in doing an assessment debrief with one of Patricia's clients, and it didn't go well. And, this client was not happy. And expressed her displeasure to Patricia and to the person that I reported to. And for me, this was earth shattering. Like, I couldn't believe that I didn't deliver on what somebody needed. And so it sent me into a tailspin. And I reached out to Patricia, barely knowing Patricia. I reached out, I sent an email. I'm so sorry. What can I do to rectify? Here's what I've done to try and, connect with the client, or to, make sure and try to learn so that I don't repeat this. Um, and I didn't hear back from Patricia.
I'm
And
so sorry.
well, and this is what I realize now, is that sometimes life, work, everything gets in the way. So what to me was a massive, massive experience in my life and my career. You had no idea how much it meant to me and where I
No.
was at.
The impact.
And
Yeah.
it never stuck with me. That's the thing. I'm racking my brain trying to figure out when it happened. And, I should have gone back to, obviously, but it never influenced, because we've all had clients that you can't make happy, right? No matter what you do, or sometimes it's just a bad day. So we've all done that, but it never stuck with me that was an issue. And so moving forward, when we worked together, I could always feel something was kind of like I couldn't get through the barrier. And for me, that drives me crazy, right? Because I like to connect, I like to have that. And I knew there was something there. So when you finally did disclose that after, that period of time, oh my God, I felt horrible that you'd been carrying that, because there wasn't any animosity or judgment. I don't even
You weren't even
remember.
aware it was an
No.
issue. That was the whole
Well,
thing. Yeah, in
and
relationships.
and that was part of what was so helpful, that we actually went on a couple of day retreat when we were doing this and planning, that we had that concentrated time to be together. That was not in a workplace, it was outside of it. We had opportunity to talk and share stories, and Sandra knew. And even the three of us initially coming together, it was a trust in Sandra that, no, I think
Yeah.
the three of us are gonna have chemistry and magic. And then that changed everything. You're right. That
Yeah.
was like the catalyst where we realized,
Yeah.
like, oh my
We
gosh, I
must
could let go
trust
of it.
her. We must trust her a lot. Holy crap, man.
Hold on. I have a lot of trust capital in my bank account, so I want to thank you both for that.
Apparently.
But Kirsten, so tell me, what were some of the, sort of those discovery unexpected moments for you?
I think I think just my capacity to take some risks, calculated risks, which typically I would say is not me. Played things somewhat safe, and not been willing to take that leap of faith. A little bit less so than Patricia, but for me, that was it's been doing it in a safe way, um, and just the capacity to learn new things. I feel like almost, I've learned new skills and new roles more in the marketing space that, sometimes I look back at and think, oh, if I could go back into school and, do things and have a different career. So this allows me to dabble in it a little bit. And some of the things that found in my role as an entrepreneur, where we don't have an entire team of people, is picking up these bits and pieces, right? And learning how to
Yeah.
do them, which has been very fun.
I hope you're really enjoying this episode of Women on Wisdom. We are sponsored by TalentWise Collective. And my question for you today is, what's your organization doing to drive the equitable change we desperately need? TalentWise Collective supports organizations to empower their employees with services and programs such as coaching and transformative workshops, and my interactive talk, Bridging the Gap, which is designed for immediate and impactful action. And please, let's not forget about the upcoming International Women's Day 2026. It's just around the corner, and it's the perfect time to invest in your leaders and your employees. Reach out to Connect TWC at talentwisecollective.com. That's Connect TWC at talentwisecollective.com. Let's build a truly equitable future together. Wow. I think mine was, for me, what was been a really great discovery. I always used to joke that I wanted to be the Hazel McCallion of leadership and development space. For those of you who don't know who Hazel is, she's the longest living mayor. She was in Mississauga. She was in Mississauga mayor from the time I was a kid in the 70s right through till, the last, I don't know, 5 to 8 years. But she continued to be after she left for Bonnie Crombie. And my years might be because, things have gone so fast through COVID and everything. But she continued until she died at 101 to be on boards. And so,
Yeah, she was a powerhouse.
it's
Amazing.
just for her, there wasn't, men do that all the time, but women don't. There are women that do it, don't get me wrong, but it's more spoken about men than it is about women continuing on. And I'd had a lot of people recently in the last couple of years say, so when are you retiring? I'm thinking, retiring? I don't want to. What cocktails on the beach at 5? No, I want to
do it.
contribute.
Some days that sounds
Option, I
good.
might do it.
Yeah, no, but what surprised me and delighted me is the feeling when we started of like, I just felt like I was starting my career all over again. So for those of us that are out there, those women that are out there thinking about, I want to continue, you can start regardless of age and stage. So that was mine. But, there's, it's all not, the entrepreneurial road is not all puppy dog tails and nice bows. There's ups and downs. And so I just want to ask, what are those bad or those tough moments, if you can share, in the last year when you felt that there was a significant challenge and, or setback that really tested your resolve? I don't know who wants to go first. I'll let you fight over it.
Yeah, I can take that first. We can alternate, Patricia. Take turns. Yeah, I mean, I think one of my biggest learnings is if I think back to last October when we decided we're going to do this, was just not knowing exactly how much it was going to take to start up the company, even though we felt like we had a head start, and we did, still having work to deliver and some clients. But the amount or the cost of everything, the time and the energy to figuring out all the back end. And I think you said it at the beginning, without Patricia, like, we wouldn't be here. It was a lot more than I think any of us anticipated, that we didn't properly scope it out or realize how much it was going to take.
Yeah. For me, that was part of the thing that I enjoyed. Like that pushed me to learn some new skills and really start to figure things out and problem solve, which was, I really did enjoy that, but it was a lot of work. And for me, it was shifting the gears, right? Going from that one headspace in the financial side of things, then moving over to sales. So having to really learn how to do that more effectively. And that was learning for me. So it was kind of the good and the bad. For me, it was trying to stay focused and not let the economy and the socio-political issues that were going on that a lot were affecting the business world. And we're trying to say, okay, what can we do? What do we focus on? Trying to keep that noise out. Where are people really going to be spending their dollars and investing with their people, and really trying to figure that out, and not go down that rabbit hole of, oh my God, we started this business and the economy is one of the worst we've had in many, many years. So for me, it was just trying to stay focused on what can we do? What do we need to really be talking to our clients about, getting more understanding of what they're experiencing, what they're willing to invest in, and what they need, so that it's not going down that rabbit hole of worry. Because I'm a worrier. So really, how do I manage that?
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? I think for me, and we'll talk more about those vulnerable moments, and because I think there's a difference between, okay, these are ups and downs of the business, and these are the bad moments of the business. You talked about about the economy, and my belief is that, we're not looking to, slay the dragon. We're looking for, a small piece of that business to create something that we really want. I anticipated one of the hardest parts of our journey would be, things like, for those of you who've never built a website, and we had an incredible website developer, Claire, who I'm sure she looked at the three of us and went, okay, we got three women, three different ages, three different styles, three different, like, strong voices. How am I going to get these three on the same page? Because what you don't realize is the detail behind it. Even picking out your bloody font is it's a whole thing. And I really anticipated this was going to be really tough because we are so different. And it turned out to be, first of all, she took us through an incredible journey and brought us together. But what was really, really, incredibly eye-opening was the fact that we chose the hills that we were going to die on and the ones that where we could compromise and collaborate on. And we ended up with a website and, fonts and colors.
A logo. Yeah.
And a logo that we really like. So I anticipated that not to be good. The economy, of course, was watching what was happening south of the border, but I decided to tune that noise out. And I think probably, and we'll talk more about this in a few minutes. I mean, a particular is the vulnerability of being an entrepreneur and the ups and downs. And you think, and I would say to anybody that's creating a business right now, really take your time to understand what are the systems that you need, what are the processes that you're going to need. I just found the processes, like we were in the coaching business, the leadership business, we have to have a lot of systems behind that. And you think it's easy, your sales process, you get a CRM, you get this, but you have to manage the coaching. It's 6 months long. And so I found that really tedious, really long, but we've got that in place now. We've got people to help us, but the cost and what we needed to support us was so much more than I anticipated. So I don't know, whatever you decide is your business, make sure that you're, crossing your T's and dotting your I's. Even if you've been in the business for like 30 years, it doesn't mean you know all the workings, because as an executive, I had people doing things, and that was another challenge for me. Was all of a sudden I don't have a team, I don't have a VP of operations, I don't have an admin assistant, I don't have all of these people, and that was, I think, as you know, in our laugh, was probably one of my biggest challenges. Was just,
I wish that was one of my challenges that I didn't have admin support. That's the beauty of me never having really had it, is that I didn't miss it.
I will say, for all those people that I worked with and that supported me, and that the systems in place and all of the IT people, and if I never showed appreciation, I am so friggin' sorry. You deserve, honestly, this has been a great journey. But I'd like to take it more, into more of our feelings, and, so for the kind of the ugly, those raw moments, those vulnerable moments. Can you recall a point in the last year where you truly felt, you're overwhelmed, doubted yourself, or felt, oh my God, this is just, I don't know if this is working for me. I don't think I need to change this. So, share with our audience how you navigated that. And maybe you're still navigating it.
Well, for me, I think it was just this past fall, like just before we had our last corporate retreat. I ran out of steam, exhausted, and really hadn't taken any substantial time off where I just relaxed. And that's when I realized that was a mistake, that I really should take time to disconnect, because, and all of us do this, we go off on vacation, but we stay connected, right? And there's no true downtime. So I think that's the lesson I learned. But it's hard when you're an entrepreneur, you're starting up, you don't want to miss anything and drop a ball, and there's not really anybody to hand it off to sometimes, because everybody else is busy, or they don't know what's going on. So, it's a hard balance, but at some point I found that I was like, and I told you guys, I'm just exhausted. I need a week just to decompress so that I can get back at it. And I didn't realize that. And I really felt that, luckily you guys called me on something and I was like, oh yeah, I'm dropping some balls and that's not fair to you guys. But when I looked at what's going on, I realized I'm just exhausted.
Well, and if
Yeah.
you remember, one of the things that I said as part of that conversation at our most recent offsite was take some time. That both you and Sandra would send notes saying, "Hey, I'm going to step out. I'm going to go for a walk for 45 minutes. I'm going to get a manicure or pedicure for an hour." I said, "I don't need to know. Just do it. Take that time when you need it. Nothing critical will happen. And if anything critical was happening, you wouldn't do it in that moment." So, that was part of our sort of renegotiating or thinking about, we need to be responsive. We want to
Yeah.
be, it's one of our core values to our clients. Yet don't take it too far, that you have that freedom to take some of the space that you need when you need it without having to let us necessarily know that you're taking an hour to yourself.
Well, and I think also that comes down to respecting each other's working style, which is part of what when we originally decided on building this business, time and flexibility, personal lives really matter because we'd come from a world where you just, you went on and you worked and you died by project and it's really been hard. It gets wearing after a while, but I also learning to respect each other's styles. Patricia and I work early morning, and Kirsten is not an early morning person. So being able to reflect that, and Kirsten's also got younger children. Our kids, mine's flown the nest, and Patricia, your son is. You've just experienced that for the first time this year, but so respecting each other's time, but also supporting each other to say, you know what, you need time. So that's the other thing. And yes, it's been hard for us, Patricia and I, to step out of the corporate world and how we operate. And there's stuff around that. But Kirsten, continue on. I apologize.
No, no, no. I mean, I'll just launch into part of what, has been one of my biggest vulnerabilities or the moments where I have questioned, because I have not been a business leader. I have not been somebody who was looking at profit and loss statements and planning and budgeting and doing all of that. For me, this has been some of the biggest learning is to know that I have to look at these numbers and I have to be thinking about them. And the feeling that comes now without having a buffer, working in a corporate environment, wins and losses. Yay, we won. Oh, that's too bad. We lost. I still got a paycheck. Now everything is tied to we won it or we didn't. And so, if we didn't get something, oh, there, that comes off and I can see and feel it. And so it is that roller coaster. And I know, Sandra, you had said, well, that's what you lived by as a business leader. You always sort of knew and you have always felt it, but become a little bit hardened to it. But for
Yeah.
me, I'm still trying to temper it, because that lack of stability is something that's not for the faint-hearted.
No, it's not because, clients have their own, the impact of budgets and tariffs. And, a client will have $100,000 to do a leadership program and then all of a sudden, oh, that's taken away or it's put on hold. You think you've got the business and you don't have the business. So it really is not for the faint of heart. So that up and down. I would also say, for me going into the year, it was about excitement, but I'd come off of 2 years of, my mother got really sick, ill, and she died. And so I went through 2 years of the ups and downs. My mother-in-law got sick at the same time and, is now sort of at the end of life. and and during that time my son got sick as well, and there was some other family dynamics going on. So when I walked into this, I was already exhausted from caregiving and emotional roller coaster that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, I don't think I ever got to the end state, but this was for me something that gave me joy and energy. And at the same time, one of my biggest vulnerable moments is, starting Women on Wisdom. Not only did we start this business, but I decided that, I wanted to really give back to the next generations of women and helping to bridge the 124-year gap to equality. And when I started working, and first of all, I am not a technical person. If I had any idea, thank God for Spencer. So he's been behind the scenes, individual person helping me navigate that. But I knew nothing about podcasting, and so I started going online, reading, researching, and learning about it. And I'm thinking, oh Christ, at my age and stage, yes, I have a voice, and yes, maybe I should just stick to my writing. But I knew that I wanted to interview people, and so got ready to launch. And of course, the rule in podcasting is you just have to do it. There's no perfection. You gotta have the courage to do it and fail and redo it and adjust. And it's like anything in life. But I have to tell you, putting myself out there was very vulnerable. I feel very vulnerable about it. I'm only at the beginning of it. I have a lot to go, but I feel very vulnerable. I hate looking at myself recording. And, but coming to, and so my point being is, starting a business, which puts you in a place of vulnerability and ups and downs, then starting a podcast, which is a whole other, medium for me. And then, I get to the end of, I come out of 2 years, do a year, and then I get to the end of this year in November. I feel like I've crashed and our business went down a little bit, but that's also because we were so busy building processes and systems and putting everything in place. And so I think that, and we were busy on our own doing whatever, taking care of clients. And at one point I said, we have to get together, even though we work really well, work together for 20 years, we need to meet face to face. And I think that re-energized me and building the strategy for 2026. But I have to tell you, we definitely, I think we've burned ourselves at all different ends, and and need to have, I need to have that time. But anyways, that's my story, because we've all had personal stuff throughout this journey.
Yeah.
All right.
But I think that's what's neat about it is, we've also had a lot of really good opportunities to have conversations that re-energized me over the last year too. I think that the downs were a lesson so that the next year will be we'll be able to navigate those differently, for me anyway.
Well, and that's where I do look at, and Sandra talking about all the things we have going on, and with family and with change and relationships. For me, navigating divorce and kids and some higher needs and transitions to high school and house hunting. Part of what we
And buying a
decided,
house.
and buying, yeah, now just buying a house, yes, even so, happy ending.
Happy. Well, if you think about what you've been through, so you think about the top stressors in life: divorce, what was starting a business,
Yep.
Buying a
Job
house.
loss also.
buying a house. That's honest to God.
You're
those
ticking them
bring it-
off.
Oh yeah, you're ticking them off for sure.
But when we talked about what was important to us at the very beginning, we said it's, what do we want? What do we want from work? What do we want from life? What do we want from our lifestyle? And I think that's, for all of us in different ways, has been also some of the greatest arc of figuring out how to, what we're doing here. And as we reflected a couple of weeks ago at our offsite, was we wanted to not be as corporate. Coming from the
Mm-hmm.
corporate world, we don't want to be as corporate as we've been. We're going to do things differently, more human, more connected. Um, and so we've done that, and we've enabled some of that space, sometimes easier than others to other times than to enable it. But then it was fascinating to see that when we got here, now reflecting back on the years, okay, maybe we went too much a little bit less corporate. So maybe we need to bring it back in a little bit more corporate. But then we talked about, well, does corporate mean you're not human? You're not, connected? We're not doing that. No, it's just a different focus on energy. And now that we have so much under and set, now what do we do differently to bring back in some of the structure that we
Yeah,
were
I think that's the word that we need
struggling
is
against?
structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
Yeah, that
opposed
we
to
fought
corporate.
against. Now we're like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
it. It's not the same thing.
yeah,
Yeah, and what I struggled with is, having been in the roles that we played, and which is I think really important. You're always, you have certain roles that you've played in relationships, and my role was always that of leader. Although we've always been close and friends and all the rest of it, I was still the leader. Bottom line was my responsibility. So there was a certain way that I operated and came to the table. And what I wanted to do was I I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to be a partner. And sometimes, even in one situation where I kind of went off the rails, is, Kirsten, you called me on it where you were going through a hard time. And I thought it would be appropriate for us to just talk about it as partners. But that's not what you needed right then and there. And I really, and I recognized, well, geez, I should have been friend. I should have been, I could have used more of my leadership style to be more empathetic in that moment. And so, but I will say one thing. Last year was about setting up the business. It was about building the type of business. And that took all three of us in our different styles, because we each have different styles and capabilities, which is a gift in itself. And this year really is about, and getting the business launched. This year is really about making sure that the business is financially, marketing, like our brand successful, all of those things. So I think it's going to take me to step back into that sort of leadership role where I've created the strategy and the sales. Kirsten, and Patricia were working. I mean, we had a budget and all that in place last year, but now we're going to follow the processes. And so I think that's going to, the pipelines and all the things that we did before and that we're used to. And I think that will bring our business to the next level in success and what we want.
yeah. Agreed. Absolutely.
Any reflections or thoughts on that?
You go
Come
first.
on.
You go first.
Oh, that's the first time we paused. We were like, what? What do we do now?
Okay, am I wrong?
No, absolutely. No, we're moving into a new stage and a new kind of energy
Yeah.
that is more outwardly focused.
But that's that's Sandra's strength. Like, you've always been that kind of driver, and that's okay. Like, I love that. That's why we worked so well together. And you've got that vision, you've got that discipline, and I think we lost that because we were just so busy trying to get everything set up that knowing that we've got the skills that we have, I think now we need to play those roles again that we've been in for the last 20 years that let us work so well together, right? I think it was kind of that, that nebulous of what's the power look like? What's the authority look like? And, I think that maybe that's a woman thing. I don't know. Like, maybe we were trying to be too much sharing the power, authority, whatever you want to call it. But I think that direction needed to be set. And when we had our last corporate meeting, when we had our last company meeting, and we really talked about this, both Kirsten and I, and I'm going to speak for you, Kirsten, we're super comfortable with Sandra saying, I need to step back into this role because it's doing my head in to not have this. And we're both like, yeah, of course. And to know that that's what you want and what you need, I think that makes us feel better that we're not dropping the ball, that no, you're really good at this. I suck at it. So yeah, like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Well,
no, it's true.
yeah, well, and I think even if we go back to, why we decided to do this together, and let's take a step back and even remember, from the beginning, some of the things that we were thinking about or questions that people asked.
Mm.
So there's three of you. Oh my
Oh,
goodness, how
right.
is
Yeah,
that going to
yeah.
work, right? Like who's got the power? Who's going to we talked about this, who's going to have the power? No, we're equals. And we are in a way, but we're not in a way, right? And so that's been part of disentangling that. Not just you're three women. What is
Yeah.
that going to be like? And so, it's fascinating to think about, the things, the preconceived things that when we told people, what's it going to be like? Is there, and we just looked or watched this video, right, from New York Times about,
Oh, yeah.
sort of
Yeah, yeah.
toxic
Yeah.
femininity. And so really, do you think working with three women is going to be right? And so, I think it's interesting for us to reflect back, and Sandra, I'll ask you, like what did you have any of those worries, and what have you felt about our dynamic, and anybody else who may be considering going into this?
Yeah, I didn't have those worries. But it was said. I mean, I think it was said to all of us, three women. That's a kind of weird dynamic, and it could be one of a lot of backbiting or two people ganging up on one, and that was not the case. We especially knew it wasn't the case when we were going through the design of this company, and yeah, but. I will say I have worked on teams where I was, one of few women, maybe one or two women. It was all men, and I will, I will, and I had someone recently say to me who came from a financial industry, "Oh, I could, yeah, like the women. That's not how it works in our industry." Because I always feel supported. I've worked with a lot of great. I really feel good about working with women. I have incredible relationships with them. I feel the most supported in all the different ages and stages through life working with females. You go through, your kids are young, they're teenagers, you got aging parents. I felt like I had people along the way to support me. And I had a lot of female, most of my mentors have been women. So, I didn't have any fear. I felt there was a lot of fear from a lot of different people that are not, in this industry, or, they're saying three women. Holy moly, how's that going to work? So, yeah.
Well, and even as we were going through and looking at our brand and our logo, our name,
Our
our
name.
looking.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, picking a name. Actually, I'm going to add that as one of my toughest moments,
Yes.
or our toughest moments.
Oh,
Was something that captures your essence and what you do, and also is not taken by other people, or more broadly taken by other people. And so I think, we talked about it, some of the feedback around, is it too soft, is it too feminine? And friends of mine who said that, and we felt so proud of it. So I mean, reflecting back on that, in the kind of energy and what we bring, what have you guys experienced?
I got
You know, I, oh, go
not
ahead.
good. I got a couple of, and from men. I got one, and I don't think I even told you guys because I didn't think it was irrelevant. And I just decided that this person was, yeah, didn't need, because most of the feedback has been incredible, and the support of our associates, the support of our clients. I just feel very fortunate. And yes, there was a few zingers, but that's life. There's always gonna be there's people that are never going to want to have dinner with you.
Oh,
or
absolutely.
spend time. And I think, I'm used to that probably more so than either of you. Having been, slapped upside the head in many, many
Yeah,
different
thanks for
ages and
taking that
stages
for
of my career.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, let's remember, I experienced something with Patricia and held on to it for 10 years. So yes, I'm obviously the most sensitive of the bunch here.
Yeah.
I feel so bad.
If you've been a leader in corporate, you're going to
Yeah.
have people that don't like you. I will have people that have left the organization, have loved working for me, and other people going, I could stand her. She was a bitch, or she was this, or she's a, whatever. I'm
Yeah.
sorry if I made mistakes. I'm always trying to be a better person, but that's just the way it is. You're always going to have someone that's not going to agree with you when you're making the decisions at the end of the day.
Well, and I think that's what gives the 20 years that we've all worked together. I think that says something, right? Because the trust that's the biggest thing, the trust. Even when we have our bad days and
Yes.
maybe you say something, and I'm like, but then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? You're right. Because I know you guys know me, right? So it makes it, I think that if you don't have that trust, 3 is going to be brutal. It could be toxic, but when you have trust, it's great because that you've also got the support, that we've got each other's backs. And if something happens, go do what you need to do. We got you. Just let us know
Yeah,
how you're doing, kind of thing, right?
the psychological safety net is there.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we may have a disagreement, but we will always come together in collaborating to make that decision. And I felt this process has been a testament
Yeah.
to that. But I'd like to ask, so for those, I'm asking this for our audience, and I think it's really important, for anybody that's starting up a business, whether it's male or female, it doesn't matter. There's one of you or 5 of you. What's the one piece of unfiltered wisdom to give other women or men, or even your past selves, on what you're considering, if you're considering embarking on creating a business? And so we've been a year into our journey, which is nothing. I mean, it's absolutely nothing. But what's the unfiltered wisdom?
I mean, I feel like there's this old saying for me. What was it? Keep calm and carry on. Was that,
Yeah.
did I get that
Is
right?
that Winston Churchill? Was that Winston
Yeah.
Churchill?
Probably. I feel like it's
Yeah,
British of
yeah,
some sort.
yeah.
Um,
During World
'Cause
War II, anyways.
yeah, well, and okay, so hopefully it's not quite as big and intense as that. But I do think and that's where I mentioned, in terms of the ups and the downs and watching things and this, today or tomorrow or this week or next week, is to keep, your sort of your eye on the horizon and keep connected to what you're doing, keep connected to your purpose and what you want to do. And what, Sandra, we had this thing when we started from about Dory from Finding Nemo. Just keep
Just keep
swimming.
swimming.
Just keep
Just keep
swimming.
swimming.
Right. So that's like the
That was
opposite of
a
keep calm and carry on.
mantra.
It's the theme. Yeah, it's a Disney reference. That's sort of the same idea.
Yeah.
Just keep swimming. And so that's what we say to each other is just keep swimming.
Yeah.
And so that's my biggest thing is just we just need to keep doing. We just need to keep doing, and it'll come.
Yeah. For me, I think it would be networks are so important, friends are so important, colleagues are so important, right? If you're going to be doing this, you're going to need help and you're going to need feedback and you're going to need people who are going to support you along the way. And if people are, especially women early in their career, develop your network, develop those relationships, because it's incredible where they can take you and how they can help you. We've had people reach out that we've worked to in the past, clients, contacts who have reached out and helped us. And I think the other thing is know where you need to invest in expertise. So we invested in our website and our brand, and I'm so grateful that we did. Shout out to Claire Chow. And we also invested in our podcast. Shout out to our producer, Spencer, who is helping us to do this right. So we've brought in key people, our accountant, we've got subject matter experts where we need them. And I think that's important to know who you're going to need the help along the way from, and, where those investments need to go, because it pays off. Trying to do it ourselves, I think, would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, I think there's, and just to build on that, I would say network. If you're not networking right now, internally, externally, within your industry, you're committing career suicide, because we see it all the time. People leave an organization, they get downsized, right-sized, merged, acquired, whatever that looks like, and they have been so busy working that they haven't managed their career. And I just feel like people spend more time buying a TV than they do on a career strategy, because they have a so-called secure job. And so you got to think to the future all the time. So I would agree on that. I also think that having a dream to have a business is a wonderful thing. And you can sit down with people, you could thought, oh, well, we could do this better, we could do that better. And you have the dream and you're talking about it, and it's a honeymoon phase. And so it's the action that you take that gets things done. And it happens in those micro moments, those micro actions that you do. You have to do something every day. You have to, even though you're talking about it, you have to say, okay, so what's the commitment here? What's the time frame? And you got to keep that going constantly to keep the business moving. And if you're not willing to call people out on their shit, or say, hey, you promised me last week, just like in a corporate world, that you were going to get this done and it didn't get done, then so when is it going to get done? Or the other thing I feel is that it's a lot of courage it's a lot of financial courage, a lot of your personal courage to start a business. But if your dream is, this was what I want to build, and then you realize the market's changing or it's not working out the way, you need to adjust. You need to be constantly reevaluating. And I would highly, highly recommend that you're doing it on a regular basis. And when you have a business, you start a business. And I think the one thing that we got a little bit wrong, and we're adjusting it right now, is we thought, because we know each other so well, we've worked in offices together over the last 30 years, that we didn't have to spend so much in-person time. No, not true. Because we had a blip here in, late October, November, and we decided not to do our summer sit down, go to a hotel, spend the night together. And but then we finally said, okay, we need to do this, and we did it, and it actually re-energized us. So spending that in-person time, it doesn't matter how you do it. You go to somebody's house or whatever. In our case, we like to take it out of our, we found a cute little inn in Fergus, and we stayed there. We've gone to Toronto. We've done different things where we're meeting on a regular basis. So I think that's my wisdom. Network like crazy. Make sure that you have a plan. Always make sure that you're adjusting and recognizing that, keep swimming.
Just keep swimming.
Keep swimming. So I don't know. It's been and take time off. That would be my other thing. I got lots of advice. I've lived it though. I mean, I stepping out of the corporate world into an entrepreneurial environment is you'll never expect the unexpected, is all I can say.
That's
anything
fair.
else, Kirsten? You got anything else?
No, I think I think we've captured most of it. I'm sure we'll sign off and I'll think, oh my gosh, I should have said this or that. But listen, maybe we'll do, a recap on year 2, and then we'll have another chance to share our lessons learned in the next year. So I'm excited for that.
Well,
Me too.
maybe it's more than that. It'll be interesting to continue our conversations. But I want to thank you both. As always, you're my favorite people to talk to. And I will say we've had a lot of laughter, a lot of tears, a lot of laughter along the way. My best part is looking forward to a good laugh with the three of you. So, or with the three of us.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much. This has been an incredible journey, and I'm looking forward to what happens next. Take care.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We are at a crucial juncture in history, and our equality is not a nice to have. It is now beyond negotiation. This is our future, our fight.
This episode of Women on Wisdom is sponsored by TalentWise Collective, a global talent development company that curates solutions for your organization's needs and culture. Please note that the opinions and comments of the guests or hosts may not align with TalentWise Collective. If you are interested in having Sandra speak at an event, or wish to reach out for any other inquiries, you can connect through our email at connecttwc@talentwisecollective.com. That is, connecttwc@talentwisecollective.com. Thank you.